Hold on. Hold on. You gotta come close to the microphone.
Hi, my name's Cass. Welcome to the AutoParent Podcast with my mom.
Hello. That's true. I'm his mom. I'm also your host for the AutoParent Podcast. My name is Reverend Casey Vanada K-Spear. I am an associate pastor and director of family ministries at Foundry United Methodist Church in Washington, D.C., and I'm a mom. Y'all, whatever we need this podcast to be, whether it's a space for solidarity or hope, to receive permission to tell guilt and shame to kick rocks, whatever we need for this parenting journey, I pray we find it here together. So come on, let's pray toward it and let's do it. Hello, and welcome to the AutoParent Podcast, episode 12. I'm your host, Pastor Casey, and I have a really special guest with me today that I don't think you're actually going to believe. It's pretty amazing. Like, I can't believe we got her. She's rolling her eyes and laughing at me. My mom is joining us on the podcast today. Her name is Kim Vanada. She works for the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Not that credentials you for my podcast, but I just feel like everybody should know what you do. Blank stares are what I'm receiving from her in this moment. Anyway, so welcome my mom to the pod. Hi, Mom.
We're not gonna, no. We're not gonna do this. Okay, you start over.
All right, so I was only joking. Tell us what the THSO does. Tell us what you do for a living. All about your job.
The Tennessee Highway Safety Office is that's gonna be so boring when I say it. It's to reduce fatalities on our roadways. However, one of my responsibilities is to monitor our sporting contracts. So actually they force me to go to sporting events to make sure our signage is up. So actually I have to go to basketball games.
Right.
I have to go to professional football games.
It's just torture.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I'm just forced to go.
For those of you who don't know this, which you actually may not know this because I'm not sure we've addressed it on the podcast before, but I played basketball in college and my mom was a collegiate basketball coach for a really long time too.
Actually, I was also an All-American.
Okay. All right. So we're actually recording this live in a small hotel room in Memphis that I'm not sure will be able to contain her head much longer.
We don't want to mention the Hall of Fame.
I was also an All-American. This is getting out of hand. Anyway, so she's totally joking. It is not torture at all for her to monitor these contracts.
The Hall of Fame thing.
She's also in the Hall of Fame at Lipscomb University. She's kind of a big deal. Let's just get right into it because that's one of the things that I already have a complex about. Both of my parents are in athletic Hall of Fames, both of them. And if I don't ever get into an athletic Hall of Fame, like, what does that say about me?
Aren't you in counseling already?
Okay, so touche.
That's part of it.
Here on the podcast, when we have a special guest, I always ask two very important questions. Number one is, what is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is people not doing what they say they will do.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember, this is so funny. Do you remember Tara Tansel? Of course you do. She had a sign on her desk that said DWYSYWD. And I was like, what does that mean? And she was like, it means do what you say you will do. Like, it was a big deal. So you must have fostered that as an environment.
No, I just don't like being lied to is the main thing. I want people to do what they say they will do.
Yeah. I mean, me too. I feel like that's a given. I don't know. I just don't feel like that happens to me very often, that people don't do what they say they're going to do. But yeah, it's frustrating when that happens.
Well, that's what I just said. It was a pet peeve. Of course it's frustrating.
I didn't know if you were going to say that your biggest pet peeve was getting speeding tickets. And then I was going to say, well, if you don't like it, then why do you get them so much?
And I don't get them that much because I don't speed.
Totally.
I work for the Highway Safety Office. Why would I speed? I know speed kills. So what's wrong with you?
let's see. I want to see if I can think of another pet peeve for myself. Oh, well, I have a pet peeve that I do that frustrates me, myself.
Well, it probably frustrates me as well. What do you got?
Well, I think it frustrates Greg too. But my pet peeve of myself is that I don't change the toilet paper roll. But here's my...
Actually, you hang it the wrong way, too.
Oh, no. We have to talk about this.
No. We're going to talk about it because when I'm at her home, then there are empty toilet paper rolls in the sink because she won't throw them away. If you throw them away, then you know you'd have to have another one on the roll. But you need to hang it correctly. No. Boys, this is about you.
No. This isn't about me because the boys do take those toilet paper rolls and throw them all over the world. Number one. Number two, I do not change the toilet paper roll, but that's because I have the biggest pet peeve in the world, which is that they are making toilet paper rolls bigger and bigger and bigger, and they are not changing the distance of the toilet paper hanger from the wall. Like, those two industries need to communicate. The toilet paper industry and the toilet paper hanging industry are not in communication right now, and I'm infuriated about it. You can't change you have to wait after you've used a certain amount of toilet paper before you can actually put it on the toilet paper hanger, because that's the only way it will fit. And also, toilet paper rolls under.
No, the toilet paper doesn't roll under.
Yes, it does.
Over. No, that you're completely wrong.
AutoParent family, I need to know.
No, you can Google that. The way the hotels hang it is correct. It's supposed to be over. It's not supposed to be under. If you have so much trouble with your freaking thing on the wall, then get one of those toilet paper stands, and put it on those. Then you got no problems at all.
Listen, AutoParent people, I need you to weigh in and tell us whether or not you hang your toilet paper to where
correctly,
it comes...
which is over, or incorrectly, which is under.
I need to know whether or not your toilet paper is over or under. And while we're on it, let's just ask the Foundry Youth question as well. Do you scrunch or roll your toilet paper?
Scrunch or roll your toilet paper?
When you use it, do you scrunch it or do you roll it?
I guess it depends on the thickness of the toilet paper.
No. I won't tell you what the right answer is because I will refuse to not acknowledge the sanctity of that question with the Foundry Youth, but there is a correct answer.
There is you guys need to work on other things. If you were discussing, I was talking about what a great pastor you are, but if the toilet paper scrunch or fold is
actually predates me. That's their own sacred important question.
What? They don't trust you if you scrunch?
No, we're not talking about what the correct answer is because we got to preserve the sanctity.
Answer.
There is a correct answer. Okay, so that's pet peeves. Now let's talk about this. This is one of my favorite questions to ask. And again, like I say this every time, it does not have to be a good story. But can you think of either the hardest time you've ever laughed or one of the hardest times you've ever laughed?
Well, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, do I have to be sober?
No, of course not. Well, recently we can talk about the fact that we've been laughing really, really hard about a really horrifying incident that occurred. Greg and I were driving, and this was in Nashville. We were driving, and right in front of us, a car flew off of an overpass. It flew off of an overpass and landed, it hit a Jeep and then it hit the guardrail. And so Greg and I pulled over to see, to make sure that everything was okay. It of course wasn't. We called the police. I also call my mom, who at that point is driving behind us. And so she pulls over too. And she had just retired from copping, or were you still copping? I don't know if you're copping.
Okay, let's back up for a second.
What?
Retired didn't happen, but copping is not a word. Enforcement.
Whatever.
An officer.
You were a cop. Okay, so at that point, I don't recall if she was still a cop or if she had quit copping. But so I call her and I'm like, you have to pull over. The craziest thing in the entire universe just happened. Okay, so all of this worked out and everybody was okay. It's the only reason it's funny. And also it's been years. Like, this traumatized us for a really long time. So anyway, we're at the point now where it's a little bit funny to think about the fact that a car flew off of an overpass, landed directly in front of us. My mom shows up and the guy who flew off the overpass is fine. He's wasted, but he's fine. My mom approaches the vehicle and says, Sir,
Do not talk like that.
let me do my character. It's like a Cecily Strong impersonation at this point. Sir, please do not exit your vehicle. Sir, this is what she says. And he says, okay, but there's a pillow in my trunk. Can you get it for me? And she's like, no, sir, do not exit your vehicle.
I don't care if you have a broken neck or not. You're just going to have to lay there.
Do not move. And he gets out of the car and goes and lays down in the middle of the street. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever been a part of in my entire life. The police officers show up. They are getting like our witness statements of what happened, and they talk to me.
They have to talk to people separately,
right?
In these instances.
So they're talking to all of us separately, and they ask me first, okay, what happened? Where did the car come from? Like, how is the car all flipped around? Like, did it twist? Did it turn? I was like, yo, it came from off the overpass. It flew off the overpass, and if you could have seen how quickly this law enforcement officer dismissed me, he was like, okay, ma'am.
It's like, okay, I'm going to the next person because clearly you're not. You're right.
Clearly, she's the inebriated one here. So he went to the next person, Greg. Greg said the same thing. It flew off of that overpass up there. And I think eventually they figured it out, but it was so fun. They did not believe that was even possible. I didn't know that was possible. And there were no tire tracks or anything because literally it was air. It was in the air. It flew off of an overpass until it ran into a Jeep and then into a guardrail. It was, like I said, it was horrifying. It's been many years. That's the only reason we're able to sort of laugh about it at this point. But the situation was just so bizarre. And then to imagine my mom just approaching this person to say, Sir, do not exit your vehicle.
Do not talk like that. But he did not need to get out of his car, obviously. I mean, look what he did. He laid in the middle of the road.
I know, and he's okay.
Fall, he was fine, but then he's going to get run over by cars.
It was insane. It was seriously the most bizarre circumstances ever. So we're still continuing to laugh about it pretty hard, but I remember being almost in tears while talking about this recently. Can you think of any other times that we've laughed pretty hard? You have to agree we've been laughing pretty hard at that recently.
In excess, actually, for the past 2 days.
Because you feel like it's at your expense?
Yes, because you think I speak like that as a law enforcement officer. And I do not. I was merely trying to keep him inside his car so he didn't get run over by other cars.
And then he got out and laid in the road.
Well, I've done all I could do.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, so can you think of another time that you've laughed really, really hard?
All I can think of right now is that stupid story because it's all you've been talking about for 2 days.
Fair enough. I'm sure as soon as we finish recording the podcast, you'll think about a million stories of us laughing together because we spend so much time laughing together. I think one of the times that I can recall is I used to do this thing where I would film you during Duke games, which was hilarious. That was really funny. It would make us laugh pretty hard. And I mean, obviously, like, we're big Duke fans, so it was hilarious to see how worked up both of us get during Duke games. This year doesn't count, by the way.
It doesn't count at all. And I don't know why people are saying that it counts when nobody has played every game of the season. This has been a pandemic year. We've had no Cameron Crazies, and you can't have Cameron Crazies in the gym. You can't have a real season. And we won our last game. And then COVID hit again. Somebody in our tier 1 group got COVID, so then our season was over. But we won our last game.
I opened the can of worms. I went there. And also, I can corroborate and agree with everything that she's saying. This year deserves an asterisk beside it. It's just been, among everything else, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Especially if you're a Duke fan, you understand how much the Cameron Crazies mean. And double that if you've been in the building and been a Cameron Crazy. Then you absolutely know and understand how important the sixth man is.
We may need to have a moment of silence.
Would you like for me to facilitate a prayer?
It really hurts. We're actually going to see Duke tonight.
Oh, yeah. So we're recording this, like I said, in a hotel room in Memphis. And tonight the Grizzlies are playing the Boston Celtics. And Grayson Allen and Justice Winslow and Tyus Jones all play for Memphis. And we're pretty excited to go see some of our former Dukies.
Absolutely. We get to see 3 of them. The Tripper, one of my personal faves.
We made this trip for you, Grayson Allen.
We made this trip for the Tripper Grayson.
We've had a good time. We had Leonard's Barbecue, which was, I think it was featured on, what's that Guy Fieri show? Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives? Dives, Diners, and Drivers? Drivers. It's not Drivers. Anyway. Leonard's Barbecue is a staple in Memphis, and we had that right when we got here because, of course, and it was phenomenal and amazing. And then we spent last night on Bill Street listening to some blues and having a blast. My mom lost her phone, and there were these girls who found it and took care of us, and shout out to them. We don't know their names, but we love you, and thank you for being good people, because people are good. And now let's do some parenting fails. Actually, for our first segment, parenting fails, confessions, and wins, what I thought might be fun for this particular episode is for me to confront my mom with all of her parenting fails and have her try to defend herself.
So this is going to be a very short podcast, right?
Remember what I said about how small this hotel room is and how inflated her ego is? Okay, so first parenting fail right off the bat that I can remember. Are you ready for this?
I am.
So when I was young, obviously both of my parents were collegiate basketball coaches. We were on the road quite a bit. We traveled a lot in buses, cars, planes, you name it. We were all over the place. I remember at one point driving through Atlanta with you. I'm young. I don't know how young, but I'm young. Okay?
Okay.
I'm very, very hungry. I'm starving, in fact. Very hungry. I've said to you, can we pull off and get food at a fast food restaurant? And you, being the person that you are like, no, we have to make it through Atlanta traffic. We have to keep going until we get through this bottleneck. And I'll have you know that was at noon. And I didn't eat until 8:30 p.m.
Okay.
And it scarred me for life. I'm still talking about it.
And you obviously lived through it because you've eaten since then. However, if you have to get anybody who's been to Atlanta knows the bottleneck, and it could have taken that long just to get through the bottleneck. And you lived through it. I was trying to keep you safe on the road, like my job, Tennessee Highway Safety Office, trying to get you safely through Atlanta.
No, your neuroses that requires that you set tiny goals and achieve them. Intensely with no sidebars and no sidetracks is what caused me to not have food that day.
But you lived through it, and I did reach my goals, which is the important thing.
It's not the important thing. It's not the important thing at all. No, you get no credit for that.
Did you eat?
Eventually.
Well, then we're good. That's the only one you can think of?
Hold on. All right, so the second parenting fail that I want to confront you with is the fact that, again, it speaks to your neuroses. When I wanted to, have a sleepover with a friend or somebody wanted to, spend the night at our house, there had to be 48 hours notice. This was a thing that you instituted, and I think it's just because you didn't want me to have fun, zero fun ever, and so you instituted a 48-hour rule that you had to have notification 48 hours in advance for me to have a sleepover.
See, I have no recollection of that. That is really neurotic. And that is not something I would have done.
It probably, you know what? It actually sounds like a parenting confession on your part that you confessed that you made up some ridiculous 48-hour rule so that you could get out of managing other people's kids.
Now that sounds like something I would do.
But I don't know why it wasn't just I need 48 hours if you want somebody to spend the night here. But last minute to get rid of me, you just loved me that much that you were no, we want you to spend every night here in our clutches.
No, that wasn't him. I don't know. That does not sound like something I would do at all, seriously.
No, it was 100% you. And actually, I have many people who can corroborate this.
Well,
because it was a well-known fact in the small town of Martin, Tennessee, that the Van Attas had a 48-hour rule for sleepovers.
I'm going to need the names and numbers of these people because that is not something I would do. It's just not.
Okay. But, I mean, you have no explanation whatsoever.
How can I explain something that didn't happen?
It did happen. I'm not, like, making it up.
I'm making this up.
Oh, my goodness. This is the last, like, parenting fail that I want to share. This one's really going to hurt. So, are you ready for this? This is, like, not a fun one. There's nothing fun about this parenting fail.
I'm ready for it.
Okay. So, this one time I was at basketball practice, and you also had a basketball game.
Okay.
So, you and Dad had a basketball game. You had called and asked my coach to pick me up, or to take me from that basketball game to your basketball game. And what actually happened was I got stuck at my middle school with no cell phone, and I was just sitting outside in the parking lot sobbing my face off because nobody picked me up from basketball practice. And actually, it's a really crazy story. I swear up and down 1,000,000 times that I met an angel or a ghost or something that day because I was banging on the doors to let me in because there was a phone in the gym, and so I was banging on the doors, and then this guy comes around. He's wearing like a maintenance outfit. I've never seen him before in my life, and I never saw him again afterwards, and he let me in the gym to be able to call campus security, and they were able to get to you, and then you were able to send your team manager to come pick me up from practice. And I guess technically it's not your fault because you did do your due diligence, but like when I didn't show up, you were like so into the game you just didn't notice.
Okay, let's go back just a little bit. Trying to blame me for this is completely wrong because I didn't call your coach. I talked to her in person, said you need to bring Casey to the gym. So I'm laying all that blame on her. I ain't got nothing to do with me.
Okay, but
hang on a second.
Okay.
Then, secondly, why would I assume? I mean, why would I look for you in the stands? You were around all the time anyway. I mean,
why would I care about the whereabouts of my
You were
child?
playing basketball, and that was important. And I sent a manager to you. However, let's look at the other side of it. You met an angel, which technically brought you on the road you're on.
No.
And now you're a pastor because you met that angel in 8th grade. And when you're banging on the gym door. I haven't seen the angel since, but you did see the angel. So that was the beginning of your road to being a pastor.
You are so full of shit.
I'm pretty sure that's honest. You just admitted that it was an angel. You just said it was an angel. And I sent somebody to get you. You're fine. And you're a deacon in the church. One of the best churches in the world. Because you
Subtle plug for Foundry UMC.
Exactly. Because you met that angel and custodian's clothing. I mean, angels come in all shapes.
Now you're preaching about angels? Somebody stop her, please. Okay, well, that's been parenting fails. I do want to talk about some parenting wins, though, because that might, help balance things out.
Well, I don't know that we've mentioned any fails so
good
far.
God. Okay, here's a parenting win. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. One of the parenting wins is that you 100%, without a doubt, instilled a work ethic in me that has produced all kinds of amazing things in my life. It's also created a perfectionism disorder that I take medication for. It's fine. But you did teach me about hard work very early on, encouraging me to play sports, instilling in me all sorts of great things like a competitive nature and a desire to win and a want to do things as good as I possibly can. And the downside of the perfectionism is just like debilitating anxiety.
And that's not getting better, I'm going to be honest with you.
But that's totally a win. Absolutely a win. Now it's time time for our Get Real segment, where we read the lectionary text each week and we get real. Our lectionary text from this week comes from Mark chapter 14, verses 1 through 15. And it's Palm Sunday, y'all. Can you believe it? Here our text is in the New Revised Standard Version. It was 2 days before the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. For they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people."